Recording. All right. Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to go and review condos. I know we did the basics there on the weekend. We're going to take it a little bit further today and get into what we do on our daily work and what we need to know about condos. I think I've done this topic once before in this office, but it's always good to review with some new faces and people that haven't had it. So we're going to talk about resale condos today. We're not talking about new builds, no pre-construction. We're purely doing the resale right now. And so the first thing we're going to go over is different types of condos because some people don't understand how they're listed when we look at our MLS listing, right? So we have our standard condominium corporations. So this is the most common type of condo that we deal with on resale condos every day. And it's defined as being separate units or row housing. When you purchase a standard condo, you own the unit and in some cases a parking spot or a locker. If your condo building has other amenities like a pool or a gym, you'd have access to those spaces, but you wouldn't own them. In most cases, you'd be subject to a fluctuating maintenance fee that is used to pay for and maintain common areas and landscaping. So basically, each owner has a deed to their individual unit. In most cases now, when you buy new resale condos, you can have a deed to your parking spot and locker. Some people get a little confused. If you don't have a deed to that parking spot and locker, you can't sell it separate. Okay, so it's good to have owned parking spot for that reason, because a lot of people use it as a hot commodity, especially downtown. A lot of people commute, they sell their parking spot separately. So the next type of condo then is a co-op condo. So what's the difference between a standard condominium and a co-op condo? Does anybody know? Anybody online understand the difference? Have you guys ever gone into the MLS listing and seen that it says co-ownership or co-op condo? Okay, they do exist in the system. They're not as common, but you will come across them and you have to be wary of them because you can't necessarily get financing for them. A lot of the banks don't like them. Okay, and this is why. So the difference between a condo and a co-op is you own shares in the private company that owns the building. And by owning those shares, you're given exclusive rights to occupy a specific unit in that building. Potential owners are also interviewed by the board. Okay, so now it's a different kind of ownership. And instead of taking just I own this unit, this is the deed to my unit, you're only owning a share of the building. So a share of the building in its entirety. So you're talking about all the units and all the common spaces. If there's 100 units, right, and you're the owner of one, right, you're only a 1% shareholder, right? So the banks don't really like this because if you default on your mortgage, they want to take away the property because that they've mortgaged. They have a really, really hard time doing this, right? If you're not paying your mortgage. So little different, definitely check it out. I've seen some people get a little hiccup on these, especially newer agents, if they don't realize what they're getting their client into and it's a co-op. And then they turn around and their buyers can't get financing for it. Most of the time, your buyer's going to have to be a strong buyer and pay cash for the unit. Okay. Common elements condominium corporation. This type of corporation doesn't have any units, but does have share spaces or amenities. The owners of the land are responsible for the maintenance of these shared common elements and most often require community members to pay the maintenance fees. So what do we call this in real estate when we're doing these kind of offers? Does anybody know? Anybody done this kind of offer before for these kind of condos? We consider them parcels of tied land, right? So this is the parcel of tied land that you come across when you go into the system. You have to be very careful. They're listed as freehold, right? But they still have a condominium aspect to them. So imagine you have a bunch of new houses and they're all built with the exclusive use of this golf court. Or there's like a marina with a dock. You see it a lot in kind of vacation spots. It doesn't even have to be that exclusive. There's some right over here at I sold over here at Birchmount and St. Clair. There's just a row of townhouses there. Now they're all freehold because their owners own the property. They have the deed to their property, but there's a condominium aspect for the grounds that are being kept. So like the garden, the parking lot that they share. Okay. So this is a tricky one because it's not actually listed in our system in the condominium section, okay? But there's still that condominium component to it. So you have to be very careful because I want to bring special attention to this. This is something we get slapped on the wrist for often. We get the complaint from Treb come in because our agents have listed it in the condominium section, when in fact, the property itself is a freehold. It's just the parcel of tied land that has the condominium on it. Okay, so you see them as POTL. There's a special form you have to fill out. We can even go and find it if we have time in our web forms, but that's that kind of condominium. And then timeshare. Timeshare, we see this mostly for vacation properties, but I mean, they're common all over. A timeshare is a way for a number of people to share ownership of a property, usually a vacation property such as a condominium unit within a resort area. Each buyer usually purchases a certain period of time in a particular unit. Timeshares typically divide the property into 1 2 week periods. Okay, so here you're not actually owning the property or the land. You're basically owning a piece of time for that property. We don't really see this in MLS, but you need to know the difference when you're doing real estate. The reason we don't see this in MLS is because MLS doesn't allow us to list anything less than 6 months when you're doing sort of rentals for that kind of period. So timeshares, Airbnbs, you don't see on MLS for that reason, because Treb has a specific rule and MLS has a specific rule that they don't allow us to list anything under 6 months, right? Vacant land condos. Vacant land condos are defined as bare land that is sold and used to construct condominiums. Corporations register and sell their land as a condominium before the building begins. Vacant land condo owners not only own their home, but they also own the land that it sits on. Usually the maintenance fees for this type of condo are much lower because of the benefits of vacant land condos. So we very rarely see this, but we'll just go over it. This is probably the most rare thing that we see in our system. Vacant land condos are attractive for several reasons. As mentioned above, if you choose to go this route, you would own your own unit and the land. This means that you're free to customize the inside of your home in any way you like and have the flexibility to make changes to your exterior space. Vacant land condos generally have much lower condo fees because you would be responsible for your own maintenance. Nominal fees that you pay are used for little things like street maintenance and ensuring that the neighborhood is always well groomed. So that's just a few of the things that we go over. But like I say, the ones we see most often for sure are standard condominiums, co-ops, and common elements or parcels of tied land. Okay, those are the 3 that we deal with the most in our system. Okay, maybe I'll go into the paperwork a little bit here. Which one do I have here? The condo. It's okay. I'll log into MLS in a minute. We'll go over reviewing a status certificate now. So, I mean, most of the time we have the clause in the condition in our offers, where we're giving 10 days for our owner to have the status certificate produced. And then we give 2 days for the buyer to review that status certificate with a lawyer. Well, what do you do in a situation when you have to go firm on a deal and you don't have that time to review the status certificate with your lawyer, right? Now, mind you should never tell your client that they're giving them legal advice on their status certificate, because we're not lawyers, but we should have a basic understanding on how to review a status certificate, or how to know whether a condo is going to close well with the bank, especially if our clients are going firm. So, I mean, when you get used to working in your farm area, you probably know the condos that the banks have problems with anyways. Like, over at Prudential, 101 doesn't have a problem, but the one across the street from it, whatever it is, 121, the banks are having a problem funding it because that one, they have a problem with their reserve fund, stuff like that. But when you don't have buildings that indicate this to you, how do you find out whether it's a good property for your client to purchase? How do you see if there's any red flags, right? So I'll just go into the status certificate here. So you can do a couple things as an agent. Sorry, I may just stop the share and come back in case you guys have lost me online there. I know sometimes it loses the share. Okay. You should be going into your system and you should be checking to see, have units closed in this building in the last 3 to 4 months? Okay, so it's a good idea to go in, look at the history. If there's units closing on a regular basis and units have closed in the last few months, it's a good indicator that the banks are funding, people are closing, they're not having a problem. Because not everybody's buying cash every single day, right? It's more common to get a mortgage and have that be funded by the bank. So if units are selling and closing, it means that other lawyers and lenders have approved the building. Okay, they haven't seen any red flags. CMHC is most likely not refused to lend to the property, which has occurred many times when concerns have been raised. Okay, this should give you some comfort and that everything is in order in the building. So first thing I go and do is I'd say, if you're going firm, let me just check. Okay, look, yeah, 10 units have closed since January. I think we're pretty good. I don't think there's a problem with the building. Okay. What's the condominium corporation number? So a lot of people go, I don't know, what's this condominium corporation number that we deal with? Condos are registered in numerical order, with the first buildings being about, probably more like 60 years ago now. This means if you're in number 2400, your building is approximately 2 to 3 years old. If it's 500, then it's 12 to 15 years old. If it's closer to 200, then perhaps 45 years old. So we always see that YCC 122, YCC, or whatever, TSCC, those are the condominium corporations. That number never changes for the building. That is given to the building when the building becomes a condo, and when it's, the condo corporation comes together. So that number never changes, okay? Basically, it's a good indicator if there's major repairs that are going to be needed to the building, such as the roof, windows, balconies. So if you're an older building, you have to think that there might be special assessments coming up, okay? So you have to be able to warn your clients of this, even if the status certificate says, oh, I know everything's good and we've got a good reserve fund. You can say, well, the building's 20 years old. I'm sure it might need the windows redone or the roof redone soon. You might be looking in the next 5 years at some special assessment or your maintenance fees going up. We have to be able to warn our clients about these things, right? You could look at the age of the building and measure if the reserve fund has enough to support the upkeep needed in the near future. So if it has a really, really healthy reserve fund, like 2 million, perhaps it won't affect your maintenance fees that much. If it's a little on the thin side, then you have to be cautious, right? Who is the property manager? Check if the property manager is a familiar name. If the name is familiar or a popular brand, they may have comfort in knowing the board is being advised correctly. So what's the worst thing that can happen to a condo building? Poor management. You have buildings that are 20 years old and have been able to maintain pretty decent maintenance fees. You haven't seen the maintenance fee go up a lot over the years per square foot. And then you have buildings that are only 5 years old, and all of a sudden they jump from $300 to $600 in their maintenance fees. 99% of the time, that is poorly managed building, okay? So you have builders like Dell, okay? Dell is well known, so they only use their own property management. When they build a building, you see Dell management, it's always managed by Dell management, because they want to ensure that not only are they known as a good builder, but they're known to maintain their property well, keep the maintenance fees down, really run the building in a well way, keep it clean, keep it working. So you want to check in to see who the property manager is, definitely, for your clients. Does the reserve, I wanted to mention too, why did we say in 3-4 months? I'm sorry, we were just talking about the reserve fund here. It reminded me. Have units closed in the last 3 or 4 months? Why do we want to check 3-4 months specifically? Because every 3 months they do their new financials, right? So when we call our clients to, usually back in the day when we were taking a slow time purchasing properties and we had time to do the conditions, we don't order the status certificate until it's a purchased unit, right? But nowadays, with our everything going firm and everything going to bidding wars, we usually get our client to get the status certificate ahead of time, right? Say your client doesn't sell that property though for 3 months, for some reason there's some delay and you're not selling the property. That is only good with the lawyers for 3 months. And that's because they're doing their meetings and they're doing their financials every 3 months. So that's why the status certificate is only good for those 3 months. So we have to ensure that our client has a valid one. They can't use if they just purchased 6 months ago and they're selling, they say, well, I just got it 6 months ago. It's not valid. It has to be within 3 months for the lawyers to close. Okay. Does the reserve fund match the reserve fund study? So the reserve fund should be updated every 3 years. Be suspicious if there's no current one. The amount in the reserve fund should be similar to the amount that was projected in the last reserve fund study. Okay, so that's how you sort of see, okay, this is the reserve fund study. They said we should have $1 million in our reserve. Do we have $1 million in that reserve? No. Why? What are the reasons? Oh, there was a fire in the foyer, so they had to fix something. So maybe something major happened. What are the reasons why they don't have that reserve, right? If there is a shortfall, do the following calculation. Okay, so quick calculation. Does my client have a special assessment coming, right? 100 units in the building means that most likely your expense will be 1% because you're that 1% owner. You're owning one of the units of that 100, right? If the reserve fund is short $1 million, your unit share would be $10,000. The same math can be applied roughly to special assessments. So both for the reserve fund deficit and for special assessments coming, you can kind of do a rough calculation. If my client says, oh my God, they're going to do, it says here that, future maintenance is going to be the roof, and the roof is going to cost $25,000. How much is my maintenance fee going to go up? You can kind of do that rough math and figure out sort of what their special assessment is going to be. Okay. For our investor clients, is Airbnb permitted? So the status certificate will tell you how many units are leased to tenants, how many buildings will have a minimum lease period of 6 months to a year. So a lot of people write that in. Condos, some condo boards don't like. So the way condo boards work is that everybody gets together and votes. So you as an owner can attend those meetings and you can vote as a unit owner, right? And so if you're finding that there's a lot of coming and going in the building and you don't like it and a lot of the residents are complaining, if it's a lot of owner occupied units, they can actually vote for these things to happen. They can say, we don't want Airbnb in this building, right? Then the condo board writes it into their status certificate. Okay, so you can read the status certificate. If it says that, you can tell that client who's buying it as an investment, look, you're going to have to rent it for a minimum of 6 months, which means you're probably looking at 6 months to 1 year terms. And if they're buying it and they say, oh, I want to Airbnb it, it's a great location downtown by the water, sorry, the Airbnb is not allowed. Okay, so you have to be able to read that in the status certificate. So it would prohibit Airbnb, and more condos are trying to prevent this due to security and insurance issues. So they don't like the coming and going so much. Most people rent for a weekend, because they want to come visit the city, have a little party. It's kind of an insurance risk for a lot of the buildings. And then last but not least, we talk about pets and parking. A lot of our clients want to bring their pets into the building. You have to make sure you understand in advance whether pets are permitted. Okay. Pets may be allowed, but there might be a weight restriction or maximum number of animals allowed. Make sure you physically see the parking spot and locker before signing any offer. This way there's no confusion with what you expect upon closing. So when you guys are doing your showings, remember to go take that time, go down to the parking spot, see where it is, go and see where the locker is, and make sure that your client's good with those things as well. It's possible that the number on the floor may not be the same as the legal unit number. So this is another thing. When we go into our document, so I'll pull up this document here real quick. Okay, it asks us for the condo registry and everything, but then here it asks us for the level and the unit number. Okay, it asks us for this on our offers as well, and I see a lot of mistakes happening. So very often it doesn't match. Where do you check the, whoopsie, sorry. Where do you check the legal unit number and level? Yeah, you can check with the management office. You can check on the status certificate too. Where else, sorry? Geo Warehouse. Geo Warehouse is always our good tool. I'll stop the share and I'll come back a little bit here. So I'll go to share screen again, and we're going to go in and we're going to search a property. Now, I don't know if this one's going to match or not. We'll just pull up some random one. Let's go to a building around the area. So available, unavailable. I don't know what's for sale either. We'll see. Is there anything in Mondale? Let's see, just for the heck of it. Okay. It's got too many things on my screen here. All right, submit. Okay, so we'll just go into a random unit here. We'll go 18 Mondeo, unit 1131. Okay, from here we can click on the Geo Warehouse. Okay, so I don't even know why this is even stranger. This should say 1131. It just says 31, 18 Mondeo. But we're going to say that it's 1131. And you see the legal description is unit 31 level A. Okay. So I see a lot of people when they do their offers, they don't look up the legal description and they don't fully understand what the document's asking for. What it's asking for is the legal description here. A lot of times agents will be putting level 18, unit 1131, because that's what we looked up here. It just says 31 though. I don't know why here, but that is incorrect. Okay. Because when they're asking for that, what they're looking for is the actual legal description. So what that has been pinpointed as. A lot of times it gets messed up in buildings, especially on the higher floors, because we know a lot of buildings skip floors, they don't have floor 13. Some buildings don't have floor 4, right? For those reasons, the legal description doesn't always match the unit number and the floor that it's on. So don't just automatically put level 18, unit 1131. Okay. I'll come back in here. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, I'll go back to this now. So what are the pros and cons when we're talking to our client about buying new condos versus resale condos? Okay. So we'll just discuss a little bit how to talk to our clients. What are their needs? What do they want? Right. New condos, you can customize, right? You can say, oh, I want this finish. No, I don't want den. I rather have this. Maybe put a bathtub in here and not a shower in this washroom. You can customize a little bit like that with the builder, right? You can schedule your down payment. So it'll scheduled over a period of time. It gives our clients a little more time to spread out that and save up for that deposit, right? And then increase the maintenance fee. So sorry, the new condo increased the maintenance fee. I don't know, this one got cut off, but the maintenance fee, you can see what it's going to be. You can see what it's going to be ahead of time. You can say, oh, you know what? It's going to be 56 cents per square foot. But when things are built at the end of the day, you can choose whether you want that building that has a pool in it. If the maintenance fee is going to be more in those buildings, definitely. If they have 24-hour security, you can choose that. You say, okay, you know what? I don't want to buy in a building that has a lot of amenities because I want to keep those maintenance fees down. I want to really control them, right? The resale condo, I think this document got messed up. It just says getting, I switched it to a PDF this morning. Anyways, resale condos, you can see what you're getting at the end of the day, right? You walk in, you walk through it, you know what it's going to be. So a lot of times I know with new condos, people think they can customize and they come in and they kind of look and go, oh, that's not really how I envisioned it, because, you only have the one sort of model to walk through and not necessarily everything is, for you, when you're walking through like a resale condo, you can physically see what you're getting. You can see how tall the counters are, what things actually look like at the end of the day. Your deposit has to be in a complete lump sum, right? You're gonna have to come up with the whole amount at the same time. So you have to make sure your clients are ready for that. And the maintenance fees are known. So they're not just like, oh, they're going to be approximately 56 cents per square foot. You know that for this unit, it's $335 a month when you purchase it, right? So that's a known. So what are the biggest complaints? You want to kind of ask these things for when you're buying a condo with your client. So the best way to find out what the biggest complaint is get a hold of the meeting minutes and find out what the biggest complaints are in the building. So what's that going to do when, like I said, the condo board meets and unit owners are welcome to those condo meetings, okay? When the unit owners are there, they're making common complaints. So you get to see what the problem is with the building. So you might be able to see that, you know what, the water, I know this one particular building, the water was just running and running and running in where they went to go throw the garbage. And everybody's maintenance fees kept on going up and up and up, and they just never fixed this problem for a really long time. And as we all know, if we have a little leak in our houses, that can bring up our water bill quite a bit. The condo board was getting a big water bill and they weren't fixing a simple leak, right? So if you see that the condo unit owners are meeting and the meeting minutes say that these people are complaining over these meetings, you can see that that's one of the biggest problems in the building, right? What's the management team like? Go talk to management, especially the one who's there full-time in charge working. Super, super important. I had a client back out of a deal because she hated the property manager. And it was the truth. Her kids were running through. It was one of the Lease Center buildings, I believe, or down here near Town Center Corporate Drive. I don't know, it was years ago. But her kids were running around. And there was like one of those little beaded curtains, and they were like playing with it. And the condo lady came out from the office and barked at the kids. She goes, I'm not living in this building. She goes, I've got kids. I want to be comfortable in my own building, right? So you want to go in and talk. And that's just a little example, because that's the person you're going to be dealing with on a regular basis. I know other people that have condos, if you want to make changes to your unit, when you're calling up that property manager, if they're a nasty person to deal with, it's going to affect your life and your peace, right? So go and talk to the management team. It's not a big deal. Or you can tell your client to go in and meet with management, say, hey, I'm thinking of buying in this building, right? Because they're the ones that they're going to have to deal with on a daily basis. Right? Is there storage space available? Find out if there's a locker en suite, in most cases on another floor for storage of larger items. So things like, when your clients are purchasing a condo, they don't think of things like, where am I going to store my bicycle? That's something big that you don't necessarily want in your unit. Is there a separate locker, usually in the parking or in separate rooms on another floor? What does insurance cover? Does their policy cover any of your content if the building catches fire or if there's water damage? I'm going to tell you right now, 99% of the time, no, it's not going to do that. You have to have your own content insurance, right? Do I fully understand the monthly association fees? So condo fees are based on how many units there are, what the cost is to maintain the building short and long term, and how the building is managed, and a fund set aside for litigation or larger repairs. Okay. So you need to see all of those things, right? What your monthly association fees go. A lot of people ask me, what do I need litigation for? Right? You need some sort of protection from your condo because if somebody, gets a flat tire from a pothole in the parking lot because it wasn't maintained, or if somebody slips and falls in the foyer and breaks their leg, the condo board does get sued from time to time. So you need a sort of a fund sitting there to take those litigation costs, right? What are the rules? Are barbecues allowed? Pets? And are you able to rent out your unit? So we touched on pets. We touched on renting out your unit. You find more and more nowadays people aren't allowing barbecues on their balcony. So if your client absolutely loves to barbecue, that's a big deal breaker, right? Don't buy that unit. A lot of the units are putting it on their terraces or their rooftop balconies in a common area because it was just becoming too much of an insurance cost for the building. So it's a way for the condo corporations to keep those costs down. They're not allowing the barbecues because it's fire hazard, it damages the building. Usually it makes it a little smoky over time in the balconies and stuff. So, here we go. Is there any litigation? Check and see if there's any past or ongoing litigation. Unit owners can sue other unit owners as well as public suing the building. So I touched on the public suing the building if there's a trip and fall or an accident. But what about unit owners suing other unit owners? Maybe there's a problem upstairs. This guy's got a leak. I've complained to management 1,000 times and it keeps on leaking and ruining my ceiling and I have to keep on repainting or doing drywall, right? If there's ongoing issues between unit owners and there might be some litigation going on between that. Is this my porch? So who's responsible for repairs on the balcony? Are you allowed to plant flowers or just put patio furniture out? So there's a lot of things that come to play with this. A lot of people ask me, well, if my window cracks, who takes care of that? It's in the status certificate. You have to be able to read that. 99% of the time, the rule of thumb is anything on the outside the condo will take care of. And there's a few reasons for that. The condo wants it to look uniform. So they don't put me in charge of changing my windows when it comes time or if I have a leak in the window because they want everything to look uniform. But they're also maintaining, that's what our maintenance fees go to keeping the common elements. And that's a common element, all the facade of the building, the outside, the brick, the balconies, the windows, stuff like that. Another thing you want to check is a lot of condo boards have rules and regulations for what you can put in, say, like your windows. You can't hang things. It always has to be white. Have you ever noticed when you look at a condo building, you don't see lots of different colored blinds? That's because the condo corporation has put in a rule saying that you have to have white. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to have white on the inside, but the backs of your curtains have to be back with a white. So you have to have a white lining and then whatever color curtain you want on the outside. So looks are a big thing, right? Because the popularity of the building keeps your value up too. So all of these things the condos are making rules for aren't to make your life, more difficult. It's to keep the value of your property up at the end of the day, right? They want it to look uniform. They want it to look clean. They want it to look nice, well maintained, right? And then we were talking about fewer amenities mean lower condo fees. Here it says fewer amenities don't always mean lower condo fees. Larger buildings with gyms and pools can spread the cost over higher population of tenants. So this is true. If you guys have ever shown the buildings by the town center there, they have a bowling alley and they have a basketball court and they have like a swimming pool. But the thing is that those two large buildings share it. So the maintenance fees actually aren't too bad there because it's a lot of unit owners. They're both high-rise buildings, right? Smaller boutique condos with next to no amenities have fewer condos to split the cost of the common expenses. So say you have this little boutique, 5-story condo, with some, stores at the bottom, but maybe there's a lot of maintenance because there's a lot of traffic because of the stores. The parking lot has to constantly be redone, or there's a need for security at the front desk so the public isn't constantly walking in. So that might make the maintenance fees higher, even though you're thinking, oh, it's just a small building. There's no amenities in it. We don't even have a pool or anything. And then pay attention to the layout. Every building has multiple layouts and they vary in desirability. 950 square foot could be a 1 bedroom plus den or a low floor, sorry, or a 2 bedroom, totally different layout. One design could be more popular and sell for more depending on the appeal of the configuration. So again, it's just knowing your product. At the end of the day, you have to help your clients when they're purchasing through you, whether it's for investment or for their own use. You have to be mindful of the resale value for your client. Because what are we talking about? We don't want to always chase business at the end of the day. We want our client to come back to us, right? We want them to be happy with their purchase. So if you're selling a building, so at Fairfax, I know that building quite well. There is just one floor plan that doesn't sell in that building. Everybody walks in and they hate it. It basically, you walk right in and the kitchen counter is right there on your right hand side. Horrible, horrible layout. Terrible for resale. So know your product. If you're selling in a building, maybe take a rule of thumb and go back and look over the 3-4 months, not only what closings have happened, but what type of unit was that? Is it the corner units that are always selling really high in that building, or the 2 bedrooms that are flying faster and the studios are sitting for 6-8 months on the on MLS, right? Check the days on market and be mindful that you know what's moving in the building and what's the popularity of that layout is that your client's looking at. I'll stop the share for a minute just to say hello to everybody online. How are you guys doing? Do you have any questions for me so far? Everybody doing really, really well? How about anybody here? Anybody here got questions?
I know you didn't cover it on this.
That's okay.
So if you have to change the layout inside, what's the rule?
So any renovation that you do to your condo unit has to be approved by the board. So especially if you're changing the layout, because that affects perhaps the structure of the building. You don't know if it's a load bearing wall or whatever. You have to give proper drawings to the condo board and they have to approve any changes. You're supposed to, yeah. You're supposed to. I know a lot of people don't. They might just rip up their carpet and put down laminate or something, but you're supposed to be telling the condo board about any renovations that you're doing, just in case somehow you don't realize it negatively impacts the building or it's something you're not allowed to do, maybe, right? So you always have to get that approval from the board.
We as an agent obviously have to walk through our client
through
that process.
Yeah. So not necessarily like say they buy and they call you a year from now. I mean, it's your choice how much you want to help them, but at least be able to direct them, say, you're going to have to call your condo, your property manager, tell them, find out what the procedure is. Is there a form I have to fill out, or who do I have to get a drawing from? Or do you guys just have to come in and approve the work afterwards? You have to find out what the process is. Again, each condo board dictates how they want to deal with things and what the process is, depending on how they've managed over the years and what's happened during those meetings and how the clients or the unit owners have voted over the years. So it's every condo board has a slightly different process. Yeah. Even just where you're putting the lockbox. Okay. So you be mindful if you get a listing, you have to check with property management where that lockbox is allowed, because that is something that the condo has voted on. Maybe they absolutely hate the lockboxes out front. And even if you listed 6 months ago, they might have changed the policy now. They might have done the meeting, the unit owners complained and said, we hate the look of the lock boxes out in the front. Okay. So I go back to Fairfax because I bought and sold a lot in that building. They used to put the lock boxes. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the building. They were all on the fence around near the front foyer. Okay. Now that fence technically is that unit owner's patio. So I imagine over the years, and everybody used to do it, I'm guilty of it because that's where all the lock boxes were, right? Where else are agents going to go? But I imagine over the years that unit owner complained and finally got it passed by the board that lock boxes are not allowed. Now they have a lockbox box in the foyer, and you open it up and you put your lockbox in there. So over the years, you have it's a good thing. You have the power as a unit owner to vote and say your opinion and possibly make a change in the building, something that you don't like or something that's ongoing, that's a nuisance, right? Same with the for sale signs. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. For sale signs, you're not allowed to put them anywhere on the condo board. Most condo won't even allow you to put them in the window. So there was a trick. Okay, we're not allowed to put it in the lawn because they don't want 10 for sales signs on their front lawn. So then a lot of agents were putting it on the balcony, fastening it to the balcony or putting it in the window. We did that at Mendelssohn, didn't we? Were we asked to take it down? Yeah, we were asked to take it down. Okay. So Mendelssohn, we did the same thing. We thought, oh, we're so smart. We didn't put it on the hard board. We put it on like a banner kind of sign. We tied it to the balcony. We thought, great, on Warden, you can drive by and see it. And management asked us to take it down. So all of this stems back to what you're allowed to do by the condo board rules, right? You have to be mindful of that. I'm just gonna go in here quickly to see if I can find this form for you guys so you can look. I did put a kid in actually, I believe. So I'll go through web forms. I'll go to web forms and Authentisign. Like I say, most of the time when I'm doing these training, it's because it's something I've come across and I'm trying to save you guys from doing the same thing. So be mindful and pay attention when you guys are loading your listing because it does happen. You will get slapped on the wrist. They will send a complaint to the office. You might get fined, right? You might have to, sometimes if you do it too many times, you say, oh, it's okay. All they do is warn me. Well, after they do that, they make you take another refresher course sometimes, RICO or TREB. So don't get stuck in these pitfalls, but I put a kit in here for parcel of tied land because it is definitely the most confused listing that people are getting. Okay. So you should be checking on, I'm trying to think of, oh, I just remember the name of the property. Okay. I'll show you the one that I sold and I'll show you how to read the geo warehouse in a second. We'll go into create here. Okay. And I'm just going to go next to the forms. So parcel of tied land is the most confused listing for sure, and the most confused purchase. Okay. So you have to be really mindful. You got to check your geo warehouse every time you're putting an offer together or every time you're doing a listing. But when you do it, see the agreement of purchase and sale, POTL, common elements condominium. Okay. So this is what you're looking for. And basically that's just telling you that, and your client, that it's a freehold property, but there's some kind of tied land, something that ties these properties together. Okay. And you're going to just fill it out like regular with the name, address, frontage, depth, legally described, condominium plan number, all of that stuff. But there's a section here where you got to put in the condominium fee. Did I miss it there on the front page? Sorry. You got to put in the condominium fee. Here you go. Common interest in the condominium being this condominium with this plan number with the purchase price. Of course, can't find it here. Anyways, you had to put in the condominium fee for what it includes. Missing it. And this is the proper document to use for that parcel of tied land. Oh, here it is. I knew it was further down. Okay. Common expenses. The seller warrants to the buyer that the common expenses presently payable to the condominium corporation in respect to the property are approximately whatever, $200 a month, right? And then which includes the following. So it might be maintenance of the golf course, snow removal of the parking lot, I don't know, landscaping of the gardens, whatever is tying those properties together. Okay. I believe the property that I sold was on Assamuse. I'm going to check it up real quick just so you can see on the geo warehouse what I'm talking about. A geo warehouse here. Okay. So hopefully this is the right property. Yeah, hang on. Okay, so we're gonna see here that it is a freehold. This is a freehold townhouse, right? I sold to my clients when 2019. Okay. And the freehold, let me go look up the sale here now. The freehold townhouse had a maintenance fee just for the small parking lot. So you'd be using the parcel of tied land in this case. So let's look up a old listing and see if we can find this now. Show you. It's a freehold townhouse. Oh, sorry, did I click on it? There you go. It's just automatically. Thank you for that. Freehold townhouse. I'm going to condo automatically. Thank you for catching that. Toronto. Oh, did I pick archive? Yeah. I believe it's EO6. Go here. Nope. Wrong one. EO4 maybe. There we go. Okay. So just to give you an idea of what it looks like when you're loading it up. This person, here we go. $110 monthly fee for snow and road maintenance. Okay, so we see here that it is a type of condo that we deal with, but whenever we hear condo, automatically we think that we're gonna go and put this in, load this in the condo section of MLS. That's incorrect, because as we see on Geo Warehouse, the property itself is freehold. It's listed as a freehold townhouse, okay? So it's a little confusing, okay, because all that means is that your property, your actual property is 100% yours, 100% yours to maintain. So we talked about the condo board. If this was a condo, these little row of townhouses here, you can kind of get a look at them, what they look like. They'd all have the same windows, they'd all have the same doors. The condo board would have been maintaining them like that. But you see, because they're freehold, it's the owner's responsibility. So if you drive down this street, you're going to see that everybody has sort of different doors, different windows, depending on their taste, right? Because the property owner is responsible for the outside of their property and not the condo management, right? That's a quick example though. But like I always say, if you guys have any questions, if you're loading your listing, if you're getting a listing and you're not sure, you're going for a listing appointment, you're kind of confused whether it's a condo or whether it's a parcel of tied land or whether it's common elements, definitely ask me and I'll help you walk you through it and we'll figure it out so you don't load it improperly. All right. Everybody good online? Nice to see everybody this morning. Everybody take care, and I will see you guys on Thursday evening for another new topic I'll have to come up with. Talk to you guys soon. Have a good week.